first time we did a interview, it was you two guys, and obviously there's new people in the bands and stuff like that. So if you just want to go round, maybe start with Luke first and just introduce yourself and say what you play.
I'm Luke. I play guitar. I'm not new in the band.
No, I know, but just everyone do it. You really watched the interview,
Oh, fair. Yeah, I play guitar.
Yeah? You go as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm Kane and I play bass.
Yeah.
I'm Miles. I sing. I used to play guitar, but they kicked me off, so I just sing now.
I'm Andy. I'm a drummer.
I'm Adam, and I play lead guitar.
Now on the riff side, right?
A little bit of shade there, where it comes. So last time we met, we were in a lockdown, so I just wanted to have a little bit of a conversation around how we think the lockdowns and COVID in general have influenced the music industry and what your input is on how that's been influenced.
Everyone's well more excited about it now.
Do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, because you used to go to gigs and there'd be like 10, 15 people in the room. Everyone that I've been to recently, even if it's been kind of like local ones, have been like sold out or near enough. Even ones we bloody play. So.
Yeah. I think that's a good point there, because I think a lot of people come at it from like a very negative like aspect in terms of like the music industry, like it's had quite a like negative impact on it, but that is a good like aspect to it, I suppose, is that because it's been so long, everyone's really excited to see live music again and kind of get back onto the scene. What do you guys think?
To be fair, like before COVID, I was ready to just like stop going to gigs because my back used to always hurt and stuff. You know, getting old. But like since like COVID's over.
Touch wood.
Since
Controversial.
hot take. Since like gigs have been put back on, I've been going to a lot more, and like I've just started like buying tickets for like little local shows and stuff just because I want to get back out. So I think it's like helped the music industry in that way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like everyone's more motivated, like bands and people going to gigs as well, which is very nice to see. Like the couple we have played have been great, like turnout wise, which is also really nice considering the first couple of shows. So yeah, it's good.
Do you think in terms of kind of like making music as well, like how was that over COVID? Because obviously you think
I think at the start for us it was difficult. I think because like Miles and Luke are both are like classed as vulnerable, so I guess we didn't want to take too many risks in meeting up, and I guess as well at the start, like because it was like an unknown, I think people did take it a lot more seriously, and you were like can I go out and do stuff, or like what's going to happen if I do get it. I think obviously now, especially with hopefully people having the boosters and jabs and stuff like that, you know, as it went on you got more comfortable and being like yeah we can meet up, write songs and stuff, and I think you have seen it. There's been quite a lot of interesting and new stuff like coming out with bands and loads of like good stuff being dropped that hopefully is a positive of, you know, coming out with one of like not many positives of being in lockdown, of like that creativity, being able to like thrive.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is almost like because it was taken away from us for so long, and like we took it like for granted a little bit, like everyone's a lot more like showing gratitude towards it now, and is kind of like making the most of the opportunities now that are back available to kind of like go and see live music and support live bands. And I think because we know how much like the music industry did suffer in that time, like it's almost kind of like pushed people to actually support like local bands and the local scene a lot more. So yeah, I think that's quite a positive answer. I was expecting you to be like, it's fucking shit, like shit.
I think it's interesting because I know, like, I can't remember if I said it to any of these where like when we were coming sort of a bit way through lockdown, it was like, God, like musicians and artists releasing songs now, is everyone just going to be doing songs about lockdown? And I was like, that's going to get so boring so quick. But like, I don't think, there was obviously a few that there were songs coming out about it, but I don't think it were as much as I originally thought. I'm glad, because you know, it would have been boring, and I think maybe that's me not giving credit to people actually being creative and good at songwriting, but I think it has been interesting, the stuff that's been dropping.
Yeah, good.
I think for a lot of people it probably put you in like a different headspace, just being in lockdown for that long, and maybe for like from a songwriting side, it sort of allows you to write more because you just have more time, and depending on what you do in like your day to day, it's probably another positive in that side. Like a lot of people really struggle with lockdown, but I think if you have like a creative process, if you have way more time to do it, then it can be a positive in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Me and Miles were talking about this a little bit before, and we were kind of saying, you know, like all these pressures that get put on us in terms of like go to job, like go and work, like studying and stuff like that, kind of got took off us for such a long time that it meant that we could kind of return back to the things that we really enjoyed and go back to creative processes and things that like our inner child and stuff used to really enjoy as well. So I think it was quite good in that aspect as well. So yeah.
I'd picked up a pair of sticks in a good few years before lockdown came around.
Really?
And then you've got nothing else to do in the evenings. So I'm like, okay, could do this when I was younger, might as well give it another crack. And then here we are.
we talked about that, didn't we? Just like returning to stuff.
Just stuff that as a kid that you really enjoyed, but obviously as an adult, like so much pressure and like responsibilities get put on you that it just kind of like means that you can't do those things anymore. Like it gave that chance for us to breathe a little bit and go back to things that we really enjoyed. So that's sick. So let's just go around and just say a little bit about like what mental health means to you. Obviously you don't have to go into too much detail about your own personal mental health. Luke, I can already see your face just going internal screams. But I think just obviously we've had quite a lot of conversations today, Miles, about how when I first started Changes, the conversation and the process behind it was to get people talking about mental health, whereas now I think we're a little bit further along, like obviously like in terms of like anxiety and depression and stuff, like a lot more people are coming forward and being open and transparent about it. So even if you just want to talk about where you think the world is in general in terms of like mental health at the moment.
Do you actually want
I'll
to go first?
I'll jump in if
you go.
Yeah, I guess I don't know where to start. I guess as you get older, it's stuff like that gets more in perspective, and I think you can look back on things, and I think maybe thinking back for myself, like maybe like lowest point where I've been in, it's maybe where I've had the most people around me, where I've lived with like a group of lads and stuff like that, where you've got more people to talk to, but really like it's, as I was saying, like when you get older you learn that it's not about that, and it's more about just being more comfortable in yourself and like being more comfortable in the people that you do surround yourself in. You know, it's like when people talk about social media, like everything's like staged to look good, and I think when you are a bit younger, especially when you're coming into your 20s, it's easy to fall into that trap, and now mid-20s, it's low-key going into late 20s.
Let's not talk about that.
You are late 20s.
That was way too close to home.
But yeah, no, you were. I'm 26. That's me.
Yeah, drops it.
I'm on the 22, mate.
That's a lot. But yeah, and I guess it's just finding that balance of being more comfortable in yourself and knowing that you're not going to be the best at everything, and every decision you make is not going to be right, and learning to be comfortable with that, and just finding that like happiness with it.
Yeah.
My thing with it, right, is that I think the biggest thing with it is that it's hard to put explaining it. People always say, especially with just like even like lads specifically, if we say there's like they always say there's like a stigma to it. I don't know if there is much of a stigma. I won't even call it a stigma, but essentially, I think there is something within us that's kind of like embarrassed by it. 100%. If you're like struggling with something and then like like reaching out for help and stuff like that is fucking difficult, very difficult. I mean, when you actually do finally do it, it does really, really help.
Yeah.
And it's not like when you reach out and if you get like therapy, or you go on like meds, whatever it is that your treatment is for it, it's not like it does fix it immediately, and you are still going to struggle with it possibly in the future. But like I think an important thing is just get in your head that you need to start making moves, and like don't let that pressurise you or anything like that. But weirdly, it would Miles, who says to me, like, because I used to fucking struggle with all kinds of shit. And Miles just once said to me, he's like, you come and you speak to me about all this stuff all the time, and don't get me wrong, I don't mind speaking to you about it, but like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I was just like, fair, yeah, like, I hate my job, I'm not really doing all about that, I'm not going out, I'm not being like active, I'm not doing anything about it, I'm just sort of like sitting and festering with it really. So it was a mixture of him and another one of my friends who then got me to go to therapy, and then after that I just, like, yeah, it still can be bad, some days can be bad, but that helped me like loads.
Yeah.
So just getting over that hurdle of being like, because it's not, you might feel embarrassed about it, but it's not embarrassing because everyone struggles with it.
Definitely.
That's the whole thing, innit? So as soon as you get over that hurdle and you actually reach out, help and get it, things do start to get better, and it sounds cringe, you know, and everyone's like, this is all you hear on like social media all the time and the news, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's like dead true.
I do.
It's that, and then healthier habits.
Yeah. 100%.
Like even just trying to get a bit more sleep, or starting to go to gym every so often. I mean, I don't go loads. I really, you've been with me. I fucking struggle, man. Struggle.
Like
when you do
massive,
you feel well better for it. So.
Yeah.
Just little things like that. I mean, it's hard, I know, but yeah.
It's true, to be fair, about the habits thing. You know, some days, as you said, are worse than others. But it is sometimes the little things like, even for some people, it's, you know, gets to the point where they can't get out of bed, and even getting up to brush your teeth or have a shower or something like that feels like a massive task. But just doing something simple, the first sort of step, just takes you on your way, and that's what helped me a lot, especially, you know, when I first started struggling with my mental health. It was the little things, you know, even like making your bed or something like that, or just
Big one, that's right.
yeah, put your son away. Yeah, well, that's
Little
it's the little bits, and it sets you up, man. It's decent.
Yeah, I do. I think it is very much kind of like baby steps, isn't it? And I think a lot of people almost expect like that once they do reach out and kind of go to therapy the first session, they're going to feel amazing. Whereas half the time therapy takes you 10 steps back, because you've got to deal with shit and actually be vulnerable and actually expose the shit that you've been struggling with. And then eventually those baby steps will kind of fall into place. So I think that is really like good that you have picked up on that, is the fact that, you know, it is the small changes that you make every day that'll eventually like get you to the top of the hill, if we want to be cringe and say that. So yeah.
I was speaking to a friend the other day actually, and he was like, oh, you know, I've just started going to therapy. I was like, you know, I know you've done it all and that. And I was like, oh, how did you find it? And he was like, it's fucking horrible. And I was like, right, what do you mean? He's like, I had my first session, I just had to like talk about like all this childhood trauma and shit. And I was like, I mean, what do you expect? Like, they're not just going to go and just be like, you look like you've got anxiety, so that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, like, the thing with therapy is, it's grim at the start, but it actually does well out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's like important to mention though, obviously, like it's all about being ready for it in yourself, and like, you can't be forced to get help, and I guess if you're forced into doing things before you're ready, it can make things worse, and you know you're not gonna jump into it to do what you can to get better.
Yeah. 100%.
No, but I do think it does help like listening to like us who have done it.
Yeah.
And been like, you know, we went through that like internal struggle of being like, I'm not going, I can't do that, that's fucking well hard. And then actually doing it and feeling like, you know, having like tools to actually help yourself after it, like it is good. So it's not like don't immediately go into it, start with like little things like, you know, Andy was saying about like making your bed and shit like that, but if you can like make that step, if you need that, fuck me, it's good.
I remember when I first like started being well depressed, it was one of you two. And a bit deep, but you know, let's go for it.
Let's go for it.
This is obviously when I was like self-harming. And at this stage of my life, I was like, it's not self-harm, because like guys don't do that. And
I remember that.
And I think it might have been you actually. You was like, oh well, it's self-harm. And I was like, no. And then someone mentioned like Van Gogh cutting off his ear, being self-harm, and I was like, oh yeah, man. I guess like guys do self-harm. It's just like one of those like it was like a light bulb moment. But I think like it's hard to come to like terms with like knowing that you're like depressed or anxious or whatever. Then that's like the first step, and like, a lot of people it's very hard to like acknowledge. Sometimes you think like, am I actually depressed, or am I just having a bad day? And you're like, oh, I don't want to like waste anyone's time, or you know, I don't want to like go at NHS because they're just gonna be like, oh, you're just a bit sad. And it's just like, if you feel like that, just do it. Like, no, that's gonna happen. Like,
It's so funny you say this, because like I feel like you literally, because I've never been to therapy, but
oh man, you should go.
I really, because I mean, I've probably been in a situation where like I definitely lost a job because I was just literally couldn't get out of bed for weeks on end, and I never went to therapy because I was just like, oh, I just get sacked off. I'll never get like a diagnosis or whatever. Nothing will happen. It'll be one of them.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like mental health is something that's just there every day, all the time. And like,
it's just as important as your physical health. You need to look after your brain, and if you think that you need help, like, you know, I mean, like physical health, I had like problems breathing, and I was like, I'll just leave it. When it turns out I had like liver disease or something. But like, it's but it's stuff like that. But it's stuff like that, and like I think people think mental health's not as important, but it's so important. And if you feel like you might be depressed, like just go see someone.
Sort it out.
It's literally like nobody's gonna give a shit.
It's good you're saying therapy like actually helps though. Like, such a motivator to go and do.
One thing I'll say as well that's really helpful with it as well is that it can be like bare expensive, but I got mine through work, and a lot of places that you work give you like an allowance to go and get help like that. Like I think they give me like 6 free sessions or something like that. I'm not fucking paying for it. I had 6 sessions, they were decent.
I got mine through uni. I got like
fair enough.
ADHD diagnosis through uni and stuff like that.
So there is those things.
Just literally try all your resources.
And I think as well, like something with therapy is, you know, it doesn't just have to be for like when you are having like really bad times. So like I do therapy like fortnightly. So even if I go into my therapy session and I'm like, you know what, I've had sick 2 weeks, and she's like, okay, well speak to me about it, because it's still processing your emotion and kind of processing your thought process around it, and there'll still be things that can come up that you can work on even when you are in a good headspace. So I think like obviously in an ideal world everyone would have therapy, but we're not there as the UK at the moment. But I think even just kind of speaking out loud about the thoughts and the feelings that you have, you don't necessarily do that on a regular basis, and I think having that opportunity to do it, like I've noticed in myself, there's been a lot of things that I've said out loud to my therapist and a light bulb's gone off straight away, and I've gone, oh my god, okay, that makes sense. And it is just having that opportunity to say it out loud, because we don't really have that space or time really.
I guess maybe just to go back to the point about, you know, surrounding yourself with a good like circle of people, and because like when we're talking about when it's difficult to take that first step and to admit you need help, I think if you've got that good group of people around you, like really they're the ones who are gonna be there to not push you, because I think that's a wrong word, but I know like especially with us for encourage, but like as well call you out sometimes. Like there's nothing wrong with your friend calling you out on your behaviour, because I think everyone knows like if you're struggling with your mental health, you're not yourself, and you can act out and you can behave in ways that won't be you, and if you've got the people, you know, you can have friends who are just there to go on a night out, and that's fine. Not everyone has to be your close friends, but if you've got that like group who are close to you, who aren't afraid to call you out and just say like, look, what's going on, you're not yourself, and you know you've been a dick or whatever it is, like talk to me about it. And if they're the ones that can sort of push you into that or encourage you to take that step and acknowledge that something's not quite right, then it can get you on your way.
Definitely. And I think on the other side of that as well, you know, like being aware of if there is anyone in your life who is maybe a bit of a toxic kind of like energy drainer or anything like that, like it's about you have like the responsibility and the choice to kind of pick who's in your circle of influence. And you know, if someone's having a negative impact on your well-being, then there's also like the chance that you can kind of take a step back and go, you know, maybe this isn't the best for my mental health as well.
Don't feel bad about cutting people out.
Don't be afraid to cut people out.
Yeah, like it doesn't even matter if it's your family, because I think there's such this like stigma around like if it's your blood, like you can't cut them off. And like,
Cut Miles out like 12 times.
Yeah. It's been swapped.
I've been at the point where I've cut family members out, and it's helpful.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's that whole saying like, blood's thicker the more. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. Like, if
Do what's best for you, really.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if one of your family members is toxic, like just fucking sack it off.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Like, you can choose whoever you want to hang around with. You don't.
I mean, I've probably only like reconnected with you lot in, you know, well, the past like half a year, I guess.
I
But
thought it was a bit longer.
a bit longer than that for you anyway. But like before, I probably like didn't really have that many friends like through lockdown and stuff. But it
I
is.
don't understand why.
Yeah, cheers, man. But like, yeah, it is handy like if you get like a good bunch of mates that are sort of in like a similar headspace, you know. It's good.
Massive.
Yeah, it does help.
So, what do you think in the music industry that makes people's mental health shit?
Oh God. Oh.
I've only got an hour, guys. Okay.
So much. Alcohol.
Yeah.
Alcohol, drugs, touring is fucking shit.
Yeah.
People are always like, touring's sick.
It's fucking
It's not.
Yeah.
Right, imagine driving around in a shitty little van You got to load in every day. You got to listen to sound check. You got to stay in this venue. There's probably a shithole, let's be honest. Like 6 hours, and then you play a set, and like when you play a set, you put your all into it. Especially like when I'm singing. Obviously, I'm singing about some deep shit that is directly linked to me, and I'm like, so I like try to put my all into it, and then you come off stage and you've gone from like up here to down here, and then you just fucking sleep somewhere shit, load out, do it all again. Like, I imagine it'd be a lot better if I was rich and famous.
We'll get there, mate. We'll get there.
Yeah, I think
Give us some time, yeah.
I think that's a massive thing on people's mental health. And then you do that, and then you go back to your 9 to 5, and you just sat in an office.
It's the going back.
Typing on a computer, and you're just like.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet the other day. I don't know who on. They're like, oh, you know, I've just played like O2 Arena or something, and now I'm taking my bins out. It's so humbling.
Fucking weird,
And
isn't it? Yeah.
I think it must affect like all artists, you know. Imagine being like Post Malone or something. You just come back from town and you got like, I don't know, like met some toast or something. You just go like, what's going on? But I think that's a big factor, and then obviously the whole drugs and alcohol. Like, you know, you go to a venue, and a lot of the time you don't get paid. You get paid in beers. You're gonna drink them, are you? You're not gonna drink them. That'd be wasteful.
No, it's almost like it's the culture, isn't it? And you get sucked into the culture, and you're like, oh, this is how it is. So like, why would I do any different? And I think it's when you take a step back and think like, you know, it's not set up in a way that's beneficial for anyone's mental health, especially in an industry where it's, you know, talked about where like creatives and stuff like that maybe suffer with stuff like that more. Yeah. So then you put them into an environment where there's, you know, drugs, alcohol, all the rest of it, and it's never going to end well, is it? And you know, like I know we've played gigs where like the promoter's been like, oh boys, you know, you want any like gear or like, oh, like, can you get us some? We're like, what the fuck, man? Like, we're just there playing a gig, like we're in his cars and shit, we're all drunk, like leave us alone.
Do you know another problem for us, or what I think anyway, in sort of like the music industry? People would up in you.
I was just thinking.
Do you know when it's like, so you play with a band and it'll be like, oh, what did you do before? It's like, oh, we'll play with this band, and you'll say, oh, yeah, we played with them. Like, well, it's funny, that's we played with them 4 times. Or like, we played with this band that's much bigger.
Pretty toxic.
Play with this venue.
Yeah.
We've got this many followers, and they fucking like ram it down your throat.
So like proper competitiveness.
I think it goes.
Sometimes it's not on purpose.
It is, but it's like low key though, isn't it?
It's like when it's just in normal life, when
yeah.
someone might like say earn more money than you and like ram it down your throat a little bit. Maybe not even on purpose, but say it and you start comparing yourself to them.
Yeah.
I think
it's pretty horrible.
It all feeds into like the whole sort of like social media age where things are forgotten about like that. Like you can drop a song or an EP or an album, whatever it is, and you can be really proud of it, and for a week maybe people are like, oh, that's so good, and then like your advertising runs out because you can't afford to keep that going forever. Someone else releases something else, and it's like people don't stick with one thing, you know. It's like, right, that was last week's song, don't matter about that now we're on to the next one, and that's not people's fault, that's just how things are now. Like
Society.
A perfect example of that is we released our first single just before the first lockdown, and we was like buzzing. It was like, oh, you know, I've never done a music video before. I was like so proud, like this is gonna be sick. And then lockdown happened. We didn't do it for 2 years, and there was a point where I was like, this band's dead. Like it's not going anywhere. I mean, we've discussed it. We was like, it was like it's not going anywhere. But yeah, it's very fast moving. You got to keep up with it.
Yeah.
I think
that's very hard.
Like the main thing that from what you guys have said, what like sticks in me is the numbers. So like you look, you know, like YouTube views, or a massive fucking one for me that's well annoying. Spotify monthly listeners. when you're on like over 1K, and then you look at it like what next month and you're on 30. We've dropped like 500 in like a month, and I was like,
it's the social media thing, though, isn't it? Like it's the thing where you release a song and then like you literally, because all the platforms are so shit, you just have to pump money into it. Like every time you release something. And then you just like constantly check in all the numbers all the time, and like you really want to do well because you're so proud of it, and then you also have the constant pressure to just always write good songs all the time that you think people are gonna like. And it's just like constant cycle, isn't it?
The amount of songs we've cut.
Well, that's it. Yeah, we've cut loads of songs, and I know we're in the space now of gearing towards the next releases, and it's that pressure of like, right, well, this needs to be good because it's gonna need to last for a little bit while we can get more stuff ready. And just Yeah, it's just that pressure of.
It's like the momentum, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you want to build the momentum and then keep it, but doing that is just like so draining. And if you feel like you've lost it, you're just like, oh, God's sake.
It's so shit being in a band.
It's horrible. yeah.
It's not.
Love it though. It's good.
The thing is,
Love it as well.
like everything's stacked against you though from the start. As a band starting out and you're getting your singles out there, Spotify, your Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, all your social things like that. It's geared against you because they go where the money goes. If you can pump shit tons of money into ads, great.
Yeah.
But for bands that can't, it's geared against you.
It shouldn't really matter though at the same time.
It shouldn't. It should be about the actual,
Like going back into like lockdown, because as you were saying, like we weren't doing anything. I was writing fucking loads of songs, so like I was spending a lot of time like with the creative outlet.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing about it, I guess. So like I'd like all this time to write songs, or doing that, and I wasn't having like a mind of like this needs to be accepted by everyone needs to love this. I was just writing because I thought they were good.
Yeah.
So there is positives as well for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we just shit on being in a band for like.
It's alright, we are positives, don't worry. But I think something that is like really interesting that you have said, and this is something that I kind of noticed when I was doing like the changes social media page and stuff like that. Algorithms, oh my fucking god! Like you need to post every single day to even people to like pop up on your news feed.
You need to be getting interactions as well.
Yeah, and like it
Post
needs
of the
to
day
be like
dead.
at certain times in the day, like when people are going to be on the phones. Like I'm not being funny, and the same as you guys, but like you have jobs and I had a job and I was studying at the same time, and like being able to kind of sit down and be able to create content and post it at the times where people are going to be on the phone for 5 minutes when they're having a shit is really, really hard to be able to do whilst you're like juggling everyday life as well.
It's weird to think as well. You can spend weeks writing a song, you practice it, you get in the studio, you pay the money, you record it, you release it, and somebody sees 2 seconds and just goes.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say, sorry to crush all of our dreams, upcoming releases.
That's a new fear.
Sorry, mate.
Cheers, man.
Just open miles up.
But it's true, isn't it? And especially like, say for example, with like content, if you put too much text on it, or if that link is not directly, like people are so lazy that you need to know like the psychology behind like the way that people follow and are interested in posts as well. And I think it is a lot to kind of juggle as well.
Yeah, I think it's like building about like what people's expectations are, especially online. Is that like because of how easy things are, and you look at things like even like Facebook, Amazon, like you just one click and you're there. Like anything you do online is going to be put against that, even though you don't sell things. You're not a massive corporation like those. If you do a post or you've got a website or whatever it is, and it's not to that standard, people look at it and it's like, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be to that standard for people to pay attention into. You might have like for us, for example, a song that's really good. But if your promotion's not spot on, if you've not got like a website or whatever it is that takes you straight to it, then it's so easy for people just to not give it time of day and just go like, well, and it might be a song that they'd love, hopefully.
It's not even that deep. It's just like even if you look at like thumbnails or like what cover art and things like that, if you've just knocked it up on paint or something like that, even to you spent ages and you're like, that looks really good, people know immediately that it's not professional.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we've spoken a little bit already about like the negatives, and you've already mentioned a little bit about the positives of being in the music industry and stuff like that, but do you just want to just delve into a little bit deeper of what that kind of looks like for you, what positives you get from it?
Chilling with the boys.
Yeah.
Chilling with the boys.
It is like, it sounds like a struggle, but I do love it.
It's
like,
fun,
love being
Even stuff like this, man, it's mint.
Yeah.
Like, having a couple of beers, chilling, talking about shit. It's mint.
I think the feeling when you do get like a good song down as well, like it just feels so fucking good,
Yeah.
I mean, I hate being in the studio and writing, but then when I hear the final product, I'm like, yeah, it's mint.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
I'm shit up.
Yeah.
I'm like the best. It gives you an ego boost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
I think it just
That's a funny way of saying it, but
I think
This guy.
it helps you keep those relationships as well, and like I know there's times where it's easy to sort of drop out and not speak to people, when you're in those places. But I think when you're in a band, it's like you're sort of forced in a way to keep doing it. Like you've got the rest of the lads like, right, we're practicing next week, you are coming.
Yeah.
And I guess it sort of forces you to be more sociable, and you know, it's just, especially playing gigs and stuff, like it is like a cathartic experience. You know, you put a lot into it, and I guess you do get a lot out. You know, if you've had a shit week, you've got a gig at the weekend. You know, you do take a lot of frustration out, and I think immediately after you still feel a bit like I don't know what the right word is to describe it, but I know like as soon as we've played, like the first thing, pent up, first thing, like probably, I don't know about these two, but us three, like right outside sick.
No, I don't smoke. I've never smoked in my entire life.
I say that as a completely social smoker. But like, you know, you need something to sort of release that tension, but you know, give it 20 minutes after and you're like, actually, you know, I do feel much better now and more relaxed.
Yeah, man. Like genuinely, got in from work yesterday. I was really pissed off about something, and I was just like stewing, like literally pacing up and down. I just went and played through the set on my kit. Came down 20 minutes later. I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
I feel way better.
Yeah.
It's easy for me as a drummer because I can take shit.
A good thing that I feel like nobody really wants to speak about because I don't want to sound like an arsehole.
Here we go.
Right,
Get ready to win in this. It's something very simple. It's something very similar. It's the fucking compliments. You know what I mean? You get off stage.
You know what, I'm with you.
You get off stage. And someone's like, oh mate.
Validation.
Like, I always feel like when I get off stage, I look like such a moody bastard. Because like I'm just like, I'm not gonna like stand there and smile and shit. You know, it's weird. I'm just got my face.
Don't smile.
But like,
Just fucking stoic.
I don't feel like I look very approachable. But when someone comes up and like, oh mate, what she said, that was sick, and then they're like, oh mate, that fucking song you did, or your voice is sick. I'm just like, yeah man, that's cool. Like nobody wants to talk about it because you don't want to seem like. You're just in it for the compliments, but I mean, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's like the sleeps gig, you know. Like we were all well nervous about it. 'Cause it's like a first
you
gig.
guys what I want.
Well, sure.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
I don't get nervous, as I mentioned previously. Sorry.
But still, like first gig, and we were all pretty nervous about it. Like, and it was a big gig as well. But you know, it went really well, and we got like good feedback afterwards, and like it's fucking good feeling, you know. So,
you get like the followers on Instagram and stuff, and like it's very like it's almost materialistic. Like you shouldn't base your happiness on followers and likes and stuff. But when you put your heart and soul into this song, and then people are like coming up to you and like sick song, they buy a t-shirt, or they like just even give you a like on Facebook or Instagram or something, you're like, yeah man, that's cool.
Those numbers can be positive and negative.
Yeah, I mean, it completely contradicts everything to what we were saying earlier, because we're like, it's terrible.
But I love it when I
when they're good, they're good.
It's a double-edged sword, you know what I mean?
And I think it like goes back to the point of what you were saying about going to therapy, like not even when you said like in good points as well, because I guess it's like, you know, not getting too high in the good points and too low in the down points, and being able to sort of work on yourself so you've got that happy medium.
Definitely, yeah. And I think again, like it comes to, you know, obviously the way the social media has been created is the science behind it is being so that they understand why we really do like that reward system of the likes and, you know, the comments and the you're great and stuff like that. And I think that goes throughout life as well, as, you know, when you got compliments, the chemicals that are released in your body are feel good chemicals, and that's why it feels good. So I think, like, you know, that validation, even if it just is someone coming back to you at the end of a show and going, you know what, that was a sick set, like it is human nature for us to be like, okay, I feel sick about myself now because someone else has said it. I might not feel sick about myself in my head and my thought process about myself, but someone else has said I'm sick, so I must be sick for 5 seconds and then I'm going to go back to feeling shit about myself. Do you know what I mean?
It's got 5 seconds though.
Yeah.
5 seconds.
Bottle up them 5 seconds. If we could bag that feeling up, we'd be rich. I was going to mention actually about that gig, While She Sleeps, because obviously that was quite a big gig for you. How was that in terms of going through the process of supporting such a big band?
Wow, it's probably my first show in about 3-4 years. It's pretty mad actually. Someone told me I don't move as much on stage, which I was a bit annoyed about.
There wasn't as much room on stage.
Yeah, it was a tiny stage.
Yeah.
But it was sick. It was so good. And like, I remember going on, I was a bit like bummed out because they were still letting people in. But I mean, played to so many people. Yeah. And like, I tell you what was bizarre, like we were sound checking and there was like people there waiting to watch us, and I was just like, oh, this is weird. Like, what's going on?
Because that was literally his first ever show. We'd released one song, had another song obviously due to release, but no one had heard that, and you're like, oh, it's great that these people are here really to see a band that
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. They haven't done anything really up to this point.
A lot of support.
And I think that, like, same as Miles, like, because of extra security checks and stuff that need to be done now and all that sort of stuff, like, yeah, it was delayed, like, starting, and so we started, and there was people there, but it wasn't busy, and we were just like, we'd built it up so much in his heads, and it was like so disappointing to think, like, is this gonna be it? And so I remember just like looking down for like the first song or two, and then like looking up and being like, oh shit, like where have all these come from? Like, it's full now.
Yeah.
And being like, oh man.
Going outside looking at the queue.
Yeah.
It was like all the way around the side of the building. I was like, oh, for God's sake.
Slow-mo video.
A little slow-mo video. I'll tell you what was mad, we was playing that show, and there was just this one guy in the crowd who was like 7 foot. And after every song, I just saw him like, it wasn't clapping around, it was just like,
The little.
and then he came, and then afterwards he actually came up to me and he was like, mate, that set was sick. And I was like, mate, all I could see was you. So I'm just like,
Says more than claps ever could, mate.
I think it were interesting though, like talking to them like while she sleeps after, because I think it puts it into perspective of like what a big, you know, touring band do to adapt and look after himself. Obviously, us, it's our first show, we're celebrating, we're like, yeah, we've got Airbnb, we're off out for like, you know, drinks and stuff after, and we're talking to a few of those guys, and it's like, it didn't even occur to us that, you know, that's their job, and they need to adapt and do things differently to not fall into the traps of what, you know, you can do as being a touring musician. So we're like, oh, you're coming out for, you know, what you're doing after you're off out for drinks, and they're like, oh no, we're just gonna go home. And it's like,
sensible.
Makes
sense.
You know, that's the much healthier way of doing it.
lovely guys as well.
Yeah.
I spoke to him for like half an hour about film cameras.
Really?
Very pretentious.
The chat, not them.
Yeah. I was just like, oh mate, is that a Zenith?
So how did you get into kind of getting that gig? Like, what was the process behind it?
It were Lawrence.
Yeah, it was his old drummer.
Really, yeah.
Ended the competition, didn't
It wasn't really a competition. It was like, so they've got their thing called the Sleep Society, which is like their Patreon page, and you join up, and it's like their group of fans. And what they've started doing is like, so they give back to them because they pay every month to be part of this group. So they'll do like all sorts of different stuff, but one of them is
release stuff.
But for this, they were putting free gigs on for them for members, and they had the idea of people who were in that group, their fans, if they're musicians in bands, it'd be great if they could get, you know, people who support them to support them actually at the show. And Lawrence was a member, and it's just one of those things where you're like, oh well, I'll do it, lads. And we were like, all right, yeah, you do whatever you want. It's not going to come off. And then we're all just chilling one day, and he's like, hey boys, I just sent an email. Do you want to play while she sleeps in like a month's time?
It was like 2 weeks before, wasn't it?
The worst bit is, right, so we was getting ready for the Key Club show that was 2 weeks after, and we had like maybe a 20-minute set. And we were supposed to do half an hour.
We weren't ready.
And then literally a week before the sleep show, Lawrence was like, oh, the Masters to play, and was like, shit. I needed to buy merch. Like, I needed to buy a microphone. We had to get like...
It's a stressful week.
Yeah. And we were just like, right, we need to have... It was 2 weeks because we had 4-hour rehearsals before, and we were just like, kept timing the set, and we were like, oh my god, it's 25 minutes. And these boys like,
less than that.
Lars, you're not allowed to speak in between songs.
Shut up.
We had to like write out like a little thing of what I could say and what I couldn't say.
It's just some waffles, man. It's waffles about shit.
I don't know what you're on about.
Talks about film cameras for 20 minutes.
That's it.
But it was mental. It was a really good experience.
It was great. It might be like the best debut gig you could ask for, I feel like.
Oh yeah.
Definitely up there.
That's
Very cool.
so
It's quite good.
I think it follows on what we're saying, where like now it's like, right, well, you're always looking at what next, and it's like you want to top yourself, and
Whoa.
it's just difficult. Like,
On a mental health podcast, please.
I heard that and I was like,
not top your last achievement. Top your last achievement. You know what? No one would have picked up on that if you just shut.
I picked up on it. I just didn't want to say
The worst, I think the negative, the downside to playing that sleep show is we were like, it's all downhill from here, boys. I remember just being like, it's all downhill. And then we played Key Club, and that was sick. And we released a song, and it got like a really good like
response.
Response, that's the word.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, yeah, we can do all.
Yeah.
Next year, Leeds Fest. I've already chose my song that we're coming out to. Coming out to Rockstar.
People don't do that anymore.
No.
People don't come out.
We're going to bring it back.
I know. Mate, I said Jerry Cinema, he came out to it doesn't matter, I'm just waffling.
Yeah, you waffling? I thought you didn't do that.
Yeah, he doesn't do that.
That's why he's got a strict script to stick to.
Maybe I should have gave him one for today. I wanted to talk about the new song, Product of Myself. What was the meaning behind it and stuff like that? Because, you know me, I'm a lyric gal, so I've picked up on a couple of things, but...
So, obviously in that podcast I just talked about my last job that I wasn't really a fan of. I've just left it. Thank you.
Woo, let's go.
I just remember, like, I'd always just sit at my desk and I'd be like, man, I fucking worked so hard to get where I am. You know, I went to uni, I failed twice. I went through all this depression, like my mum having cancer, all this shit that kind of just piled on top of me, and I was like, fuck it, I just need to get my degree. Got my degree. And I was just sat in this office job like this makes me want to fucking kill myself. And I was just like, this is grim. And I was just like, man, when I was a kid, like I had all these like dreams of like being a musician, or I wanted to like live in Germany, or all this, and I was like, no, I'm just in Leeds. I'm sat here designing a fucking shed. I'm not even designing the shed, I'm drawing car parking spaces. And I was just like, I never like kind of expected my life to end up here, which is kind of where the lyrics came from. Because what are the lyrics?
Well, I think that's what you
What are the lyrics?
And I swear.
Oh, and I swear I'd be better than what I turned out to be.
Yeah, and just that kind of thing. When I like product of myself, like I've just kind of I've put myself in this position, so it's all my fault. But that's kind of where it came from, like, you know. Yeah, we've got a new song coming out fairly soon, haven't we?
We do.
Yeah.
Has that got a name?
Not yet.
It's called Mouth Ulcers.
No, it's not.
Right, if it's not called Mouth Ulcers, I'll be dead upset.
So you're going to be dead upset because I'm saying that.
It's not called mouthfuls.
It's called Mouth Ulcers.
It's not.
We're spitballing mouthfuls.
Yeah,
We're spitballing We're spitballing names.
we put the lyrics down. What this week?
Yeah, vocals.
Yeah, Tuesday.
On Tuesday.
Yeah, pretty good, I think.
Sick, okay, exciting.
And then after that, EP.
It's going to be part of a bigger release, isn't it? Yeah. So
Yeah, it's part of something bigger. There's more to come, but I think
We've got a new EP that we're wanting to release.
I think it's sort of the reason we're doing this. The idea was an EP, and I guess going back to what we talked about earlier, putting like pressure on yourself, is that we were like, oh, we need to do it sooner rather than later. We need to get something out, or else we're going to be forgotten about.
I mean, it was supposed to be done last month.
Yeah. So I guess we're like, right, we'll do a single. That single will be on the EP, and we've sort of changed his plans to sort of ease our own anxieties about being forgotten, or irrelevant, or whatever. But yeah, looking forward to it.
You're on a really good path at the minute, and it's been exciting to kind of see like how you have transformed, because obviously we're going to have to mention Hinges. Like we can't go an interview without not mentioning Hinges. Gone but never forgotten.
You two can walk away from this.
Yeah.
That's right, we'll start.
But it is though, it's nice to see like how you have like progressed like musically as well. So I think just wanted to say that really. One thing obviously is called coping. So, what things help you cope with everyday life? What are your protective factors to mental health?
I mean, a fun fact when named after a coping stone.
No, we're not.
Coping.
You know, when I first heard the name of the band, I thought it was like coping is in like a skateboard ramp.
No, like coping like a coping stone. This is a coping
Yeah, man,
stone.
and then it clicked. I was like,
So Miles, what do you do to cope?
So what I do to cope is I like to like run, cycle, kind of just get out, hike, climb. Sometimes it's as simple as just going for a bev with boys, you know, having a beer, or going for a coffee, or just getting out. Like, so that's it, getting out and just doing something instead of festering.
Sitting in your head, I think that's a big thing, isn't it? Like getting out of that cycle of like overthinking, isn't it? Just doing something different.
Just like
Mine's just getting out of the house in general, because I work from home, so it's like you can go quite easily like a week with just going to the supermarket and that's it. Me and my girlfriend go like to the beach or something, go to the seaside or something on a weekend and have like a long walk, change of scenery, or like during week like band practice is another one, or I'll go to the gym, or just something just to get out. So normally it's just getting out of the house, because it is nice to sit at home sometimes, but when you work from home,
need that change in environment.
You do, yeah.
I think not even like it doesn't have to be getting out, and I think it can be like portrayed it like, oh, you need to be active and doing stuff, but even just like sitting in and playing like video games or something like that.
It's been
it's like you're not active, you're not out, but it is like an escape, and it's like a different. As cringy as it sounds, it's like a different world that you're in for a period of time, and you
Red Dead.
Red Dead, yeah.
The Wild West.
Get me on that horse. Those wide open fields, man.
I'm just a normal dude shooting some other dudes.
No, but you know, whatever it is, and that's what you think about for that time, and you're not, you know, you're sort of zoned out.
I do well agree with that.
It's just so relaxing, and I think it's.
I get a lot.
It can be easy to be looked at. It can be easy to be sort of looked at, being like, oh, you know, you're not doing it's lazy, and you're not helping yourself by doing it. It's just a time to relax and not think about like the pressures of everyday life.
People put too much pressure on doing something with your spare time.
Oh,
You don't have to do shit.
Productivity.
Just chill, man.
Exactly.
Like, I find it very hard to just chill. And if I can just like sit and like, I mean, this is bad, but last night I stayed up till 5 a.m. just playing Empire Earth, which is like a strategy game that I played when I was a little kid.
It happens, man.
And I was just like, this is sick. Like, I never do this.
Yeah.
You know, I got a little Fanta fruit twist. You know, I got
Good
some,
drink, though.
Yeah, man. I bought some Tiger Bread. Got a bit of Lurpak, Tiger Bread.
Oh, Lurpak as well.
Yeah, man. I just sat there.
Man's not even dossing.
I know, like, I never do this.
Lurpak and Fanta, yeah?
Lurpak, Tiger Bread, bit of Fanta.
He's made it.
I thought you were just eating Lurpak.
Spoonfuls of Lurpak.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, lads. I even pushed about. I had a Kinder Egg.
Did you?
It came with a little robot
Yes.
that acts as a fidget spinner. But, I mean, I stayed up till 5, which isn't very healthy, but I was just like, man, this is sick. I never do shit like that.
Yeah.
It's just doing stuff like that or whatever you like to do. Like,
I do think that's a good point though about like it's that pressure of always being productive,
Yeah.
and it's just there's nothing that, like, you feel so good after a day of just doing nothing and relaxing and just like
Again, that is different for different people. Though.
Oh, yeah,
That's when this
100%.
whole like conversation gets.
That's it. Like on
Yeah.
a weekend, if I'm knackered after a week at work, if I stay in bed till like 12 o'clock, I feel really guilty, and I shouldn't, but I do.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's like I have to remind myself that, you know what, it's actually alright to do fuck all.
it's this whole like culture of there's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, like everyone, yeah, exactly.
I didn't want to name anyone because I didn't want to come
Oh,
out.
she's going to be well upset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My timbers are shivered.
You're getting bottled at the next game by Molly next.
But it's this whole like
She's going to waste the 24 hours coming in gig.
it's this whole like
It's not productive.
it's like
well funny actually, mate.
no, but it's this whole like you've got to have a 9 to 5, and then before that you've got to go to the gym. So you've got to get up at 6 and you've got to go to the gym, and then after your 9 to 5 you should be improving and
Side hustles.
like improving yourself. Oh, what's your side hustle? I don't have a
hate that.
fucking side hustle, man.
Yeah.
I just chill. That's my side hustle. I'm a chiller. Like people just put
I'm a chiller.
people just put so much pressure on like constantly improving yourself,
Yeah.
and sometimes, man, just be happy with yourself and just
I
chill.
agree, and I think a lot of the time it comes from ourselves. Like, no one else is putting that pressure on us, really,
Oh, yeah,
apart from
massively.
ourselves. Like, saying, like, we're comparing ourselves to others and going, okay, well, they're doing this much with their 24 hours. Like, I've just done a full day in work. Am I really just going to go to bed? Like, do I feel guilty about that? It is very much, it comes from us. Like, we're our own worst enemy because of the generation that we've grown up in and how productive we've all tried to be to kind of like show success. And it's not always success if you're busy. Sometimes it can be, you know, the worst thing for you. Mental health and well-being is if you're constantly busy.
It's so often like just bullshit as well that you see on Instagram. You know, you see people, been up at 5 a.m, already hit the gym. I mean, for all we fucking know, they could have taken that last night when they were in the gym and just set it to post. You know what I mean? It's
I mean,
a lot of it is bullshit.
Yeah, I think one thing, I'm not seeing it much, but I've seen it a little bit of like a trend of people, I think, celebrating like the defeats on social media and openly saying like, I think it's important to talk about. I think failure is a hard word, maybe not the right one to use, but you know, like, you don't only have to share your successes, talk about when things are as good. And I guess it comes into a whole mental health conversation, but you know, like, go for a job, didn't get it, you know, talk about it, post it on social media and whatever else it is. And I think, you know, there are people doing that. I guess it's a brave thing to do. I probably wouldn't do it at the minute.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's something that I can build up to and be open to talk about things that aren't classed as successes. But I think, you know, if more people can get on board with that, and I guess that's the thing, get more people doing it, and then if it becomes socially acceptable to talk about things that aren't amazing and aren't, you know, all how everything's perfect in your life, and hopefully that can lead to a bit of a positive change.
I think that's where we're at now. I think we've normalised the conversation around mental health, and people are a lot more kind of like coming forwards and talking about it. But I think like the next step is having transparent conversations about real life, rather than this kind of filtered, you know, best bits that we kind of see from each other. And even when we meet up with each other, like, it's how are you? Yeah, I'm alright. Really, like, you know, it's only when you see someone on a regular basis that you start to see like those cracks or like things that they're struggling with. It's never when you meet up with someone once every 3 months that they kind of go, oh yeah, like, you know, my whole life's falling apart. And I think it is about those transparent conversations a lot more. What do you guys do to cope? Because I know obviously these are just hogging.
I've got a dog.
Oh, okay.
I've got a dog, and she's absolutely fantastic. You know, I think that was actually something that was really good for me. Is you have to get out of the house because you've got a responsibility. You've got to take the dog for a walk. So no matter rain, shine, it could be pissing it down, whatever, you've got to take the dog out.
Yeah.
And you've got to, you know, you've got to walk for 20 minutes, you know, twice a day. Something as simple as that is actually really good. You know, you whack your headphones in or just take some time to be with your thoughts or whatever like that. Yes, it's a big help. It's a big help.
So, what about you, Ed?
And she's a dog.
A lot of climbing for me. It's probably my main sort of hobby, I guess. Yeah, come on, yeah, City Block represent. Hey. Just like playing guitar in general, but not to songwrite, just to chill. That helps a lot. A lot of gaming, probably too much, but again, yeah. I never feel guilty about it.
So, is there anything you just want to add, guys? Because I'm pretty much done with questions. Anything you just want to promote or push or?
Just listen to the unreleased unnamed single.
When it comes out, check out Malflutters.
Yeah, check out Malflutters.
But yeah, give us a share. Give us a follow.
Unless you think we're all awful people.
And then give us a share, but like slag us off. Any publicity is good publicity.
That is very true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, man, that guy with the mullet chats so much shit.
Honestly.
His haircut's dead.
Right, well, thank you for coming today, and thanks for having transparent conversations. Obviously, it's not the easiest shit to talk about, so I appreciate it. And
cheers for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers for having us.
cheers.